Hey everybody, this is Erica from In the Company of Cards. Happy Sunday. This is just a, quick conversation, Sunday conversation just with you and me. I know we're all exhausted from the events of the week we've just had. Uh, and I will be back tomorrow. I'll probably look at some international stuff and probably do a deep dive on 47's health because we are in the middle of September and all of us are seeing a downturn in his health uh, moving forward. But I just wanted to um, make some comments about this Charlie Kirk killing, murder, not assassination, because that's not what it was. Uh, it was an unfortunate murder, and I I want to know a few things, a couple of things really, in this particular broadcast. One is I'm curious about, well, first of all, how ironic that his widow, her name is Erica, and she even spells it like my name. And how ironic that the purported shooter, his last name is Robinson. I know neither of these people. I am not related to either of these people, thank God. But I, I want to look at Erica for a minute. Um, she gave a little speech, little statement, basically saying that she was going to carry out, uh, continue the work of her late husband. I don't know if you saw the video of her with the coffin and his body in the coffin, but I mean, it's on Instagram, but I would not advise you looking at that. It felt performative and weird, but you know what? No shade. I was a widow. I didn't do anything like that, but I think that grief does some very odd things to people. I think we all respond differently to grief. So I will give her a pass. But I mean, I have to say, I was scrolling through Instagram and that video popped up, and I was just like, oh. Anyway, um, she has said that she espouses his same beliefs and that she's going to um, take the helm of Turning Point and make people remember what he stood for, which I think is um, problematic. I don't think he stood for anything positive, but okay. Also, she's a woman, and he had very, what I would call, um, misogynistic opinions about women and their place. Um, we can only assume that his followers agreed with him. So I'm curious how, whether she will be able to be the standard bearer for Turning Point, that organization. I do think she is probably being given a lot of tea and sympathy, but I also think that uh, there will be people trying to position themselves to take Charlie Kirk's place instead of her. And remember that, come to find out, as we all knew, this was not anybody on the left who did this deed. I want to look more at Tyler Robinson in a minute, but um, we know that, well, we understand that Tyler was a part of this sort of Groyper contingent, and that is sort of ultra white nationalist, Nick Fuentes's group. And Nick Fuentes had beef, as they say, with Charlie Kirk because Nick Fuentes felt that Charlie Kirk was too establishment, was not radical, racist, Nazi enough. Um, who knows why Tyler did what he did? I'm going to look at some of that in a second. But uh, I would assume that there will be some jockeying for position with Turning Point and who's the head of it, and also some movement in terms of membership. People who move to the right with Nick Fuentes, or people who move left because they think Fuentes is too much. I don't know. But what I'm curious about is Erica. Now, when you're newly bereaved, in that way, you may say a lot of things that in the fullness of time, even to your mind, don't sound reasonable or rational. I'm sure I understand why, in the heat of the moment, she would say that she was going to avenge him and also take over the organization and further his misogynistic, racist, um, homophobic work. But anyway, let's look at Erica. She's young. And so we will use the young woman for her. I'm sure she would not be thrilled that she has to be portrayed by a Black woman, but that's my deck. So there you go. I'm sure she wouldn't be thrilled that we share a name either. Again, as a human being, I feel for her. I've been there before. Um, but as a widow, but that 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 does not mean that I give her or her husband any kind of pass in terms of their stance. Hold on, I just want to turn that thing off. Okay, so we're going to look for Erica and see if we see any kind of, leadership stuff coming forward for her. I know she told her daughter apparently that her daddy was on a work trip with Jesus. Anyway, I guess eventually the next chapter of that will be, and Jesus was so pleased with his work that he asked Dad to stay. And, Dad had to choose, us, Jesus, us, Jesus. So, of course, Dad chose Jesus. I guess that will be the next chapter of the story that she'll tell her daughter. We all do what we need to do to put one foot in front of the other. And she's no exception. Okay, so let's look for Erica Kirk and see what the future holds for her. We're using the young woman for her. Okay, so this will be Erica Kirk for the purposes of this reading. Okay, so we have the sun, we have the mountain, we have Erica Kirk, we have the ship, and we have the child. So I will say that, she was kind of in clover in terms of I don't think she maybe saw very much of her husband because he traveled a lot all around, all over the country at college campuses. But, life for her was sweet. I think he has something like a $12 million worth in the end. Um, but then obviously that was stopped, it was blocked. Now, this is not the end of the world. This is a pause, which makes me think that, yeah, she will definitely, stumble and fall as a result of this bumping into this mountain, but it's temporary. She'll have to sort of reassess, um, look at the lay of the land, figure out who are my friends and who are my foes. Who do I want to be? Am I this Valkyrie, you know, Nazi I don't know, widow figurehead, or am I going to be a player in my own right? And what do I really think relative to what Charlie really thought? Is it the same? Is it different? Is it more extreme? Is it less extreme? How can I mobilize women to this cause? Um, I think she's just got to stop at this mountain and her life is will be 100% different than it was 2 days ago. She's in the middle. We have the ship. So she will get up, she will move forward in a new way. So she won't be the little woman at home. I think she will do something new. But this is also the children. She's got a 1-year old, I think, and a 3-year old. I mean, they're small, the children. So she will feel the need to be there for them, but she will sail forward into her life. So I'm happy for her about that. Here she is, and the clarifiers are the ring, the bouquet, and the clover. Uh, she is committed to the cause, committed to the memory of Charlie. And this sounds really bad, but um, the bouquet is the card for a reward. I think that she thinks she is owed a podium and a platform and a crown as his successor. This is what that card is. It's about a reward. She thinks she should be rewarded for having been widowed in this incredibly ugly, painful, public way. Also, she is canny enough, I guess you could call it that, to realize that she's got to hurry up and get her ducks in order. Clover is luck. And I mean, obviously, this is not anything she thinks of as lucky what happened, but there is a window of time. And Clover is a very ephemeral card. Like it can be a card of opportunity, but it's ephemeral, meaning the door opens, and if you don't go through it like that, it'll close before you know it. So she's feeling like she's really got to strike while the iron is hot. I suspect that's why the video on Instagram, which I mean, where she is mic'd up, she has a microphone on, and you don't see Kirk's face, thank God, but you see his hands, and his torso in the coffin, and she's kissing his hands and saying, God bless you, and oh, very loud, I miss you, I love you, whatever. It was performative. I'm sorry, it was performative. I'm not saying she's not in grief and suffering. I also think she's just out of her damn mind, is what she is. But she thought it was a good idea in that kind of seize the moment kind of way to parade her newly minted widowhood with the cough. I mean, as somebody pointed out, this was hardly an Emmett Till moment. I'm just saying, if you don't know what I mean, Google it. It was performative and it was unseemly. We'll just call it that. But again, you got to cut people slack because grief is just weird. But I do think she feels like she is owed. Somebody owes her, and she wants to position herself fast before the news cycle moves on, for example, right? Before people turn to other things and other people who will be jockeying for Charlie Kirk's position. So this is like a speedy card, like I've got to hurry up and do this. Uh, so here she is moving forward, and the clarifiers are birds. You have the woman card, and we have the fish. So in the beginning, one of the things that I was curious about, she says she's going to be the figurehead. Um, Charlie Kirk would not approve of women being at the helm of anything. So what I'm wondering is, as she moves forward to take her place in the organization, Turning Point, or in what in the magosphere world, which would be these groups of white nationalist people. Um, will she try to mobilize women? Charlie Kirk mobilized young men, not young women, young men. Not that there weren't women that supported him, because there were, but young men were his base. Is she going to try to maintain that base somehow, maybe as the grieving widow whom everybody, feels sorry for and wants to protect and take care of and support and all that? Or will she also and will she simultaneously, um, as the widow, try to mobilize the female base of white nationalist women? I think that that's the direction she's going to have to go in, because I don't necessarily see the men looking to her as a figurehead. I can see them saying that she can be the sidekick of whichever man takes things over, if there is one. I don't know. Turning Point could be subsumed under Nick Fuentes. Turning Point could dissolve altogether. I don't know. But I think she's going to try to mobilize women. Um, and then the fifth card, of course, is this child card. The clarifiers are the young man, the tree, and the book. So when I was going horizontally, this is her doing something new, which would be mobilizing women. This is also her caring for her children and trying to set her children up. And, first of all, she has to support them. She's got to make sure that the estate that he left goes to her and her children. And I think there will be people who will be, sniffing around that as well. But now I'm going vertically, starting with the child. And I think there will be some new male who will come in to try to take Charlie Kirk's place. This will happen over time. And I think that it remains to be seen whether remains to be seen. We don't know. That's what the book is about. Whether the health of the organization and the movement can be sustained. Particularly now that everybody knows this was not the left doing this to the right, that there was a cannibalistic aspect to this. You know, they're cannibalizing their own in this sort of internecine fight to decide who gets to win. Um, you know, is Charlie Kirk was Charlie Kirk too milquetoast? I mean, can you imagine? As disgusting as his rhetoric is, there are people to the right of him, like Nick Fuentes, who who want to take things in a certain direction. So it remains to be seen um, whether this movement will stay healthy or whether it will end up cannibalizing itself. Uh, Also, there's a lot of things we don't know. I can mirror the sun with the book. I think a lot of stuff is going to come to light. And so I think with the question of Erica, we know where her mind is. She feels that she is owed. She is owed allegiance. She is owed um, obedience. She is owed a platform because of what happened to her husband. That remains to be seen. I don't think the young men will follow her, but absolutely the women will. That means there's a vacuum. What man is going to take his place? Again, will they be subsumed under Nick Fuentes' movement, or will it go a different way? So, so, she is in the throes of grief. We will cut her, a few breaks for that because that's awful. Uh, it's hard when who you thought was your enemy ends up to not be the enemy that you need to have been aware of, which again speaks to this cannibalizing. Now, I want to get to Tyler Robinson. And I suppose the only reason that I'm even doing this video is because one of them's named Erica and the other one's named Robinson. And here I am, Erica Robinson. I don't know, it's a little freaky. But I wanted to talk a little bit or look a little bit at Tyler Robinson. Um, so we know that he confessed to his father. His father then did what Mormons do and consulted the bishop. And that's always, they always do that, the Mormons. It's sort of a damage control. How do we spin this so that we come out um, in the best possible light? And so they spun it that they will turn Charlie in. And that's the language that they would turn Charlie in. And of course it works. It worked because they are being praised. The father, the family is being praised for turning him in instead of being vilified for being the family of the guy who took Kirk from this world. So that spin worked. Um, but, you know, I am not trying to jump on any conspiracist bandwagon. I'm really not. I understand that Tyler, um, was experienced with guns. Why were there several shell casings found if there was only one shot? Why did that old man in the crowd, as soon as the shot was fired, yell out, I did it? I mean, he had no weapon or anything. I did it. So that the attention of law enforcement went to him instead of finding actually who did do it. What was that diversionary tactic about? I mean, even if you're crazy, let's just think you're a crazy old white guy and you're crazy, but there you are at this event and then you know nothing about anything. You're just there to watch the event and then somebody gets shot in the neck like that. Even if you're crazy, do you think your first instinct is going to be to say, I did it, take me, arrest me? Or are you going to be like every other human being and have your limbic brain kick into gear and try to leave the area, try to save yourself? Why didn't he do that? Was he crazy or was he crazy like a fox? What about those two guys with the baseball signals, with the hat and I don't even know, whatever they were doing, they absolutely were signaling to somebody about something right before the shot. So I guess my first question is this, and listen, I'm old enough to remember very well John Kennedy's assassination. I know I don't look like I would remember that, but I do remember it very well. I even wrote a letter to Jackie Kennedy when it happened, and I drew a picture of myself. It was my head and my shoulders, and I thought that was a great picture because I had shoulders. I thought that looked like art, and I drew big tears. And then I realized, oh, I probably should include my brothers in this picture. But I mean, I had taken up so much of the paper with my own personal um, image that they kind of looked like little I don't know, insects on the sides of me. And I wrote a caption on the picture that I drew, and I wrote, "I am sorry that President Kennedy is died." And my dad said to me, "Oh, you can't say that. You have to say is dead." And my lips started to tremble, I remember, and I started to cry. And my mother asked me why I was crying, and I said, "Well, because I feel so bad for his wife. I don't want to make her more sad by saying the word dead because it sounds so like ugly. That's why I said died. And so my mother said, okay, all you have to do is just take out the is. And so the caption on the photograph on the drawing was, I am sorry that President Kennedy died. The is crossed out and I wrote died. I thought died sounded so much softer, and I wanted to comfort her. I didn't want to remind her, so dead, ooh. But died sounds a little more sort of River Styx-ish, I thought. Um, and I got you know, a note back from the White House thanking me for my letter. And I was a little girl, so I remember the whole Kennedy thing. And I remember, I mean, I've obviously been conscious and alert and awake and alive for all of the conspiracy conversation that went around that. But still, that was quite the shot Tyler Robinson took from 200 yards away. And those were some kind of signals that those men were doing, hand signals. And it's pretty interesting that there were three bullets and only one shot. Three bullet casings, one shot. And then you have that old man. I did it, I did it. So, I would like to know about Tyler Robinson, such an unfortunate last name. Uh, did he act alone? So that's the first question. Um, and I don't really love to ask Lenormand yes or no questions, so I'm going to say, show me what you can show me, Spirit, about this assassination. Uh, and I'm going to use this time, I'm going to use Tyler. I'm going to use the young man, um, and see if I can look at this from his perspective. Okay, so this is Tyler Robinson. Okay, so we have the moon, we have the bouquet, we have Tyler Robinson, shooter, we have the scales, and we have the rider. So, first thing to say is that he wanted to make a name for himself. He wanted to send a message. I could mirror this first and last card. The moon is reputation. So he wanted to make a name for himself. The rider is the message. Now, I also think that I don't, I mean, I do think there was something in it for him besides bragging rights. Uh, I think there was a reward involved here. Okay, he's in the center, and the fourth card is my scales card. So I think that, part of the reward from his perspective, because that's how we're looking at this, is that he was doing something that he felt was the right thing. Now, theoretically, what they're positing is that what he thought the right thing was that Charlie Kirk was not right wing enough. So that's why he was mad at Charlie Kirk. I'm not sure if that's true, but I do feel that he was led to believe by hook or by crook that it was a just and righteous act that he committed and that he would be rewarded for it. Now, who would do the rewarding? That's another story. So let's see what else we can get. So here's our moon, and the clarifiers are the woman, the ring, and the tower. Uh, Again, this is his reputation, right? Bragging rights for doing what he did. Uh, this is a yin card. If you have yin and yang, yang is masculine, yin is feminine, and feminine, just I mean, if you go, just roll with me a little bit, is more passive. And he would have felt that Charlie Kirk was too mainstream, too passive, um, and that he was committed to the cause of white nationalism, Groyper culture, whatever. Okay, this is the reward, the second card. The clarifiers are the house, the clouds, and the heart. Uh, you know, he probably thought he was going to get the Medal of Freedom, which Charlie Kirk gets posthumously. He probably thought the White House would be really happy with him. But again, his thinking, as is the case with anybody who does commits this kind of act, his thinking was muddy. I mean, right? You got to be kind of to do something like that. Um, but he was, all in and really psyched to be rewarded for this action. Here he is in the center. Clarifiers are hmm, the star, the tree, and the coffin. From this line makes me feel like there were others involved, only in the sense that here's here's Tyler Robinson. Here is his future. In the future, uh, and I just feel like, look, they're obviously they're going to go for the death penalty, or maybe not obviously. I'm pretty sure if it had been somebody black or Hispanic or some Muslim, they would be going for the death penalty. They may or they may not go for the death penalty for him. But I think I they could have said to him, it's kind of like a jihadist who believes that if they commit this act, which also ends up taking their life, that for all posterity, they will be revered. They will go to heaven. They will be rewarded um, because they give their life for the cause. I mean, it's very interesting that I can mirror these two. So he could have been sort of a jihadist, thinking that even if his life is taken as a result of what he did, it's for the cause. Okay, then we have this scale card, which is our fourth original card. Clarifiers are the young woman, the ship, and the bear. I think that uh, Tyler felt that he had been, that I think he felt weak and unimportant. And that in order to right the scale of that, he would do a big thing, go ahead and do a big thing by acting like this, you know, a bully, blowing somebody's head off. Um, yeah, I think like a lot of these young incel white men, um, you know, their guns are their surrogate members, we'll just say, if you get my drift. And being able to fire that weapon stands in for not being able to fire other things, if you get my drift, and made him feel powerful in the moment. Not to mention, he thinks he's going to be rewarded. He thinks he'll be celebrated in the afterlife if he gets the death penalty. Uh, so it sounds like a pretty good deal to him. Final card was the rider, and the clarifiers are the child, the anchor, and the letter. Just really incredibly immature. Just, I think he was very bright, but psychologically incredibly immature. And he got caught up in something. This makes me wonder whether this was part of an operation. That, by the way, he may not have been privy to all the parts of it. Here's the moon. He had his part to play, but I think there might have been a bigger plan. So the next thing I want to look at, because I think he only knows but so much, which would be typical if he's a patsy, right? You don't tell the patsy the entire scope of the plan, right? You just tell them whatever you need to tell them to get them to do what you need them to do so that they can play their part in your drama that you've created. So I just want to know um, about other people's involvement. I cannot shake the three bullets and the one shot, bullet casings and the one shot, the fact that an airplane took off over airspace that should have been closed off, the fact that those men were making those whatever baseball signals that they were making, and then that older man, I did it, it was me, which was a diversionary tactic in the moment that I don't think would have happened unless he knew what was going to happen. I just want to know if this was a larger plot. Now, when I say larger plot, I've heard lots of speculation that this was the Mossad organized it, which is the Israeli Secret Service kind of organization. I've heard that it could have been Russia, and I mean, God knows we put nothing past Russia, which I will look at Russia not in light of this, but in other things next week. It could have been a an operation, sort of an internal kind of a thing, a white nationalist operation, one faction against another faction. I don't know. In fact, you know what I think I want to do? I'm going to draw three cards. First three cards will be it was Tyler Robinson by himself, lone actor, just incel crazy guy. And then I'm going to draw another three cards for for it being a plot of some kind. And let's see what looks more plausible. So that's just another way of looking at things. Okay, so let's see what we get. So this would be three cards if Tyler acted alone. And this three cards would be if there is a um, bigger operation behind all of this. Okay, Tyler acting alone. We have the ring, the key, and the mountain. A bigger operation involving more people. the cross, the heart, and the bouquet. Well, I think that Tyler certainly was committed to the cause. He was the right man for the job, obviously, but I don't know that he could have done it all by himself. I think there are too many variables. Um, but when you look at the other three cards, were there other people involved? You have the cross and the heart and the bouquet. I'm going to say there were other people involved, and that Tyler Robinson is the patsy because patsies are sacrificed, right? They're the ones who are thrown out there. Yeah, he's the one that will take the rap for this. Um, uh, because he believes in the cause and because we've explained to him what his reward would be. And again, the reward is street credit and sort of hero-dom, he thinks. That's what they sold him anyway. I really think, and I'm not the only one, and I've thought long and hard about looking at this, but I do think that um, sure, he was committed, man for the job, but could not have done it by himself. Too many variables. So he had help, but in return for the help, he then gets sacrificed. He couldn't help himself. When his dad said, "That kind of looks like you," he didn't say, "What do you mean? That's not me." Or, "Here's the movie stub. I went to the movies." Or, I, whatever. He immediately, because he wants the street cred, he immediately said, "Yeah, I did it." So I think he was sacrificed, but again, for a reward. Again, what's the reward? That he gets to be the shooter. His name will go down in history as the shooter. And should he get the ultimate penalty, which would be the death penalty, which he probably won't get, by the way, because he's a white guy, but anyway, um, he will be rewarded in the afterlife. So I think there are wheels within wheels. I think we'll learn more as time goes on. Meanwhile, the Epstein thing is not over by any means. It's just heating up. There are even more documents that are really damning to both 47 and to Maxwell. So we will see what comes of that next week. So there's a lot to look at next week. Anyway, that's my take on that. I know there'll be some big, huge funeral. Um, Certainly 47 has not tried to calm the waters, but did anybody expect that he would? Uh, I will look at Memphis next week as well because I guess his operation in Chicago didn't go as planned, just as I told you it wouldn't. So now he's turned his gaze to Memphis. So I will look at that next week as well. Also, I am thinking about doing a live class um, for a cost. It would be on Zoom. It would be four weeks long, probably an hour and a half, I would think, each time. If there's an interest, if you look in my under my video, you can find the class that I already put up where I videoed a bunch of lessons and you can learn that way. But I thought it might be interesting for people to learn from me in real time. So what I would do is I would do a lesson and then leave the last half hour, 20 minutes for people to ask questions, try spreads out, and sort of help people become familiar with the cards with me in real time. So if that's something that you think you're interested in, as you do your commenting under this video, and I love your comments, I read all of them. Thank you so much. If you think that would be a thing that you'd like, I could put it together in the next weeks. And, it will be a 4-week class, like I said. Uh, in the evenings in the East, uh, I try to be considerate of people who live east of the West Coast where I live. And maybe we'll spend some time together. So I will see you tomorrow. And listen, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Get some rest, drink your water. These are crazy times, but you were warned that September would be quite the month, and it is definitely living up to the hype. But I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.